Hey, we are actually live,
We're
Jenifer.
live?
So,
okay, great.
hey guys, welcome back again. Jenifer and I have had a little technical difficulty. Russell Peden here. Hey, Team Prosperity Partners. As you know, I'm Jenifer McClafferty, and I got my friend Jenifer McClafferty on the Zoom Facebook Live with me right now. Her and I are the guest speakers at the Carolinas Super Saturday tomorrow, April 18th. You can see all the details there on the flyer. Jenifer and I were on a call last week where I actually got to hear Jenifer's story again, and it just blew my socks off. And I said, I've got to interview her. I got to introduce her to the team, maybe get on our team call, but at the very least, let you guys hear her story so you can get on this Super Saturday Zoom tomorrow and learn from her. She is the #2 top producer in the entire company in the network division, which means she's just crushing it in terms of marketing our membership to individuals and families. She also does a little bit of solutions, but she's just the top network sales, which means she's figured out a way to market memberships, but more importantly, she's figured out a way to do it from home. And I know many of you would like to learn how to do that, and I want you to hear her story and then plug in tomorrow to the training where she's going to lay out step by step how she did it. But right now, I want you to meet my friend Jenifer McClafferty. Jenifer, would you mind giving a little about your background and why LegalShield, and just a little bit about anything you want to share about your success?
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, and hi out there to Team Prosperity. My name is Jenifer McClafferty. I am in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. I came on board with LegalShield 10 years ago, back in 2009, when we were going hot and heavy through the Great Recession. I was a real estate broker. I owned my own real estate firm and my own mortgage company, and literally was getting at that point where obviously the market was slowing down. The stock market had crashed in 2008. I had lost my life savings, but I also was a new mom. I had a 18-month-old little girl, and I realized at that moment back in 2009 that this really wasn't the life that I had signed up for. With real estate, it was a 14-hour-a-day job, even with the market slowing. And such a major responsibility of being someone's fiduciary. Offers come in, inspections come in. Time is of the essence. You can't hold on to that information. So what I found my schedule to be is every morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I would head to my real estate office. I would come home for a quick dinner break, feed my daughter, give her a quick bath, put her to bed, and then I would run back out and work with my clients and finish up all my duties. And I would come home most nights about midnight. And I repeated that over and over and over. And so towards the end of 2009, I was looking out my office window one day, and I just had a conversation with God. And I said, you know what? I feel like I'm too smart for this, okay? This isn't what I signed up for. There's got to be another way, another life. Please show that to me. And a week or so later, my sponsor, Larry Gregory, walked into my office, and he shared with me the LegalShield product, which I thought was fantastic. And immediately I had a need going through the recession and being a business owner. But as he shared the opportunity with me, at first I said, you know what, okay, I don't think I'm interested. And, but at that moment, thankfully, I said, you know what if this worked for me? Let me give this a try. And honestly, at that moment, you know, I did not see the big vision. I didn't see that LegalShield could replace my multiple six-figure real estate income. I thought, well, you know what? If I could just make an extra $300-400 a month, that will pay for one of my expenses, one of my insurances that I have to have. And so anyways, I signed up as an associate on my birthday in November. And immediately, Mr. Gregory sat down with me and did a game plan interview. And on that interview, we talked about the why. And, you know, I wrote that on the very top of my piece of paper with my list. And I really, honestly, Russell, I had this philosophy at that moment, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to do whatever this man says, okay? I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, okay? And if he tells me to stand on my head, that's what I'm going to do. And so I took his chicken list script, And I went down my warm market list, which happened to be other real estate agents and other mortgage professionals, okay? And so I followed the system. 15 of those came on board within the first 8 days. 12 actually fast started because we were fast starting in a couple of days. And they fast started because, again, they were hungry. They needed money. It was, that time of everyone's life. And I actually went from associate to director in my very first 8 days in the business. Okay. The first month in the business, I made about $3,500, which really excited me because this $3,500 check obviously more than covered my household bills. Okay. But it also, there was no overhead to come out of it. In the real estate business, just my marketing budget was $100,000 a year. Spent $100,000 just with traditional advertising of newspapers and billboards. Okay, so I had to make a lot of money in real estate business before I ever saw it on. Okay, and so I'm here, at 33 years old, right, taking a look at this, going, what if this would work for me? Okay. And thankfully it did. Obviously it didn't come without challenges. A lot of times when, I tell this initial story, someone's sitting here thinking, wow, this is probably $1 million income earner with LegalShield. What's going on? But, sometimes we find that life happens to us right after we get involved, with the business. And so that kind of happened to me after my first month. But because I followed this system, and because I had that success, I believe it was there, Russell. That belief was right there, that I understood the money was real, the opportunity was real. As we shared the product with other people, they wanted it. And so that obviously got me really excited, but it really did put that belief very, very strong in my heart.
Wow. Well, you know what? And I know you're probably going to move into this a little bit about how life did happen to you right after you got started. It's funny how, for those of us who believe, I believe that as soon as you find something, the devil goes, you know what?
Oh yeah.
Let me see how bad you really want this.
That's right.
I always say, what would you do if the unthinkable happened to you? The unthinkable happened to you. The unthinkable happened to me 5 years ago. And I think it's God's way or the devil's way. I mean, I think it's all God. It's God's way of getting your attention, God's way of saying, you know what? Let's see how bad you want it. And, it doesn't matter. But I know, so go ahead, Jennifer. Guys, yeah. This is the part of the story because as tragic as it may seem, God has a sense of humor. He turns things that you can't even imagine into victories in ways that, so anyway, I'm going to stop talking, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. The rest of the story. Obviously, being a believer, Russell, I do believe that everybody's got to go through something in life, yep. And sometimes when I tell my story, because it kind of is the unimaginable sometimes, I think people kind of lose sight of the fact, I tell people, if you ever in life want to be mad at someone, you can be mad at Adam and Eve, okay? They're the ones who messed it all up for us from the very beginning, right? And, I became a believer as a young child. I was 5 years old, and I really understood that story of Adam and Eve. And, I remember as a little girl understanding that there would be plagues, there would be illness, okay? There's obviously going to be death. There's going to be tragedy. And what's important through that process is to continue to understand that that doesn't change the fact God still loves you, right? And through the journey, I felt that love every single day. I never felt forsaken. And I saw miracles all along the way, not just financial miracles, but spiritual miracles as well. And so obviously I'm a child of God, and, that's another reason why I'm here. But during this journey, within my first month of signing my LegalShield agreement, and actually the day that I signed my associate agreement, my 18-month-old daughter that night started vomiting and projectile vomiting at 18 months old. And so our pediatrician put in a referral for a GI doctor in Eastern North Carolina. There was only one. And he actually was on vacation in Poland, and we had to wait for that. And so it took about about a month before we actually got to see this doctor. And so during this time, my daughter's getting sick. She's losing the ability to do some things. And I thought my daughter had had a stroke. But really what happened is my daughter had a lesion on her brain and her fourth ventricle. And so we wound up having a CAT scan towards the end of December. And New Year's Eve, we were actually at UNC Hospital, and Layla was having her first brain surgery to relieve that pressure and relieve that pain. Now, at that time, we had surgery, we had a shunt put in, and, hey, we're going to watch the lesion, because there's lesions that can be benign, and you just kind of watch it. But what happened is over the next 3 months, that lesion went from the size of a pea to the size of a golf ball. And so we obviously had to have several surgeries, but through that, she was actually even over-shunted. So we actually had to have a double craniotomy to relieve that pressure first, let her heal from that, and then we had a tumor resection surgery, okay, which lasted 8 hours. After the tumor resection surgery, she was diagnosed with a very rare spinal and brain cancer, and a cancer that doesn't have a survival rate. Okay, the survival rate is less than 1%. So you know right then and there what you're up against, what your odds are. Now, with obviously being a believer, I also believe that at any given moment she's supposed to be healed. God just has to touch her. Okay. But what happened during this process, 2010, 2011, for 22 months, we gave everything that we had to save our daughter's life. And so we live between UNC Hospital and Boston, Massachusetts, okay? While I still own a real estate firm, I still own a mortgage business, and the Great Recession has really taken hold at this point. So financially, that $500,000 of income that I'm used to producing to bring into the real estate business to pay my expenses, to pay payroll, to pay the mortgage for the office buildings and things like that, had diminished down to about $80,000 gross. Okay. And so that at that point doesn't even cover, any expenses really. Yeah. So because of LegalShield though, and getting started in that first 8 days of the business, I had income coming in from the team, whether I sold anything or not. That's called leverage, right? That's okay. Right. But I also learned really quickly that if I made sales, then I was adding to that income. Okay. So while we're going through chemotherapy and we're recovering from that, and while we're doing proton radiation in Boston and living in Boston, Massachusetts, which is a licensed state, through the entire summer, okay? The worst licensed state, no, I should say that. It's just one of the more difficult ones. While we're living through that, I realized that I have people around me. I have doctors and nurses. I have other families. I also have my friends and family network. I have 2,000 friends on Facebook, for example. And so I started selling LegalShield personally from those hospital rooms, from the elevators, from the hospital lobbies. And that's how we ate. That's how we sustained our family. So that covered car insurance and our cell phone bill and our health insurance bills and all those household bills that had to be paid regardless of what was going on around us, right? And we had a medical trust. We had a lot of people that gave to Layla, but that money was in a medical trust. So that covered those self-employed Blue Cross Blue Shield deductibles, okay? And that covered prescriptions that the insurance still doesn't pay through all of that. So I was very grateful, for that money that was about $24,000 that was raised, but that didn't cover the household bills. Right. So I was under the challenge of being a mom, being able to make life or death decisions, working out cancer protocols where there was no answer, but still being under a challenge of how are we going to eat through this process?
Right.
And both my daughter's dad and myself were in the real estate business. So our income was coming from the same place. Okay. So LegalShield really did sustain us through those times. And going into January of 2011, I was able to sell off my real estate firm for pennies on the dollar, but I was able to close those doors. And from January through September, because of LegalShield, I was able to be with my daughter every single moment of the day. I was able to be with her. I didn't have to leave the house. I didn't have to do anything. I gave her my undivided attention. And through that process, I will say this, other than I did go to the convention. I did make it to the convention as an executive director. Okay. And I attended my first ED banquet. Yes. And I did that. We had just gotten clear scans for Layla. So we had beat cancer. That was the first time we beat it. Or the second time we beat it, we got clear scans. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to convention unless I hit ED. You know, I'm not going unless I hit ED, because if I'm going to spend this kind of money, I want to be on the floor in that convention. Okay. I want to experience everything that I'm supposed to experience with LegalShield.
Right.
And so that was a whole nother story. But we were able to do that, and we hit ED. And then, like I said, during that 9 months, we were able to eat, and I was able to sustain our family because of LegalShield. And so in September of 2011, matter of fact, the weekend that we changed our name from Prepaid Legal to LegalShield, I gave my daughter back to God. Okay, so he called her home and actually sent angels into my home, but we gave her back. And you know, and so during that process, I'm sitting there after losing my daughter of, you know, what do I do now? What do I do now? And number one, you know, I knew that my belief had not changed, you know, and I have some people ask me, well, Jenifer, you know, why didn't you quit? And, you know, I always share the story of, well, you know, that would be in vain. It would absolutely be in vain. Why would I quit when I sold plans from hospital rooms and hospital elevators, you know, in the cafeteria and the hospital lobby? Why would I quit now, you know? And so anyways, I wound up divorcing my daughter's dad. It had been a volatile relationship for a while. And I moved to the beach. I'd always wanted to live at the beach. And, you know, my first goal was to get settled and to go out into the marketplace and, you know, share this with other real estate agents and mortgage professionals, because I truly believe that our plans give a lot of protection. And there's so many 1099 employees that don't understand day in and day out, they're putting their livelihood on the line because they're at risk of lawsuit. Okay. Right. So my plan was to go out in the marketplace and just share the good news and share the story. And as I did that, Russell, what started happening is people started asking me questions, because anytime that someone likes you, they want to get to know you, okay, as they're doing business with you. So I would get the question, do you have a child? Do you have a child? Well, if I told them I just lost my daughter, I have just ruined their day, because as human nature, we don't want to see anyone go through pain, right? So I just ruined their day, and I'm getting this most awful look on their face, you know? If I said, you know, yes, I had children, and I just, you know, then they want to see a picture of my daughter. Well, that was painful for me, because now I'm sharing a picture of my daughter. If I said I didn't have children, then they would look at me and, you know, what's wrong with this woman? You know, why doesn't she have children yet? So it was a very odd situation. And I'm like, man, this is ruining my mojo. You know, I've got to eat. What am I going to do here? And honestly, I'm kind of thankful now. There were moments in my life where I was like, man, I wish I could crawl up in this corner and, you know, have a good cry and get all of this out. But now looking back, I'm really grateful that I still had to eat. I needed to eat. So here's what happened. First of all, I realized very early on that I could not control what my team did. Okay. There were some months where everyone was making a lot of sales, and some months they weren't making sales. And so I realized that I could not control anything that was doing there. But number one, I could always be a good example. Okay. And with Performance Club numbers always showing up, it's real easy to see what someone, how many counters or how much premium someone's doing. So number one, I realized that kind of the way I looked at it is whatever sales I personally made, I could control that, and I could control how I could eat. So I set a goal early on, Russell, that if I could make 30 sales a month personally, okay, 30 sales a month personally, that I could eat off of that. I could pay mortgages or rent, I could pay my bills, and I could sustain my family. And then as far as, team building, obviously I believed in that, but I kind of looked at that as the icing for me. And this was just kind of my mentality back then. So kind of looked at that as the icing. And then it's, so basically what I did is I came up with a system, which I'm really excited to share tomorrow, a system that I could sell from home. So number one, I didn't have to put on makeup. I didn't have to get dressed, okay? And I could do this on my own hours, which I'm extremely regimented. And obviously I will teach this tomorrow, my system and literally my time management system. But I could work from home, make this happen, okay? And sustain my family. So I did that. I've done that. In that process, I obviously asked for referrals. So I'm excited to teach that as well, my referral system, because, I'm never out of leads. There's never a day that I wake up and say, I've got no one to talk to. Okay. I always have notebooks full of people to reach out to and to talk with, which is super exciting. Through the years, obviously, I added that B2B area into my business as well. But what I learned on that also is that as I was trying to build a pipeline for B2B, I was always a day late, dollar short. I'd have someone to say, Jenifer, this is great, but guess what? We just did open enrollment last month.
Right.
Wow. You just said yes to me and I've got to wait a whole nother year. You see what I'm saying? So what I learned through that process is, again, I could feed my family and I could build on that, and sometimes I'll have people to say, oh, well, I don't want to grind that much and I want to have leverage and this and that, the other, and all that sounds great. But here's what I learned. Residual is residual is residual. No matter if I'm doing it, no matter if my team's doing it, those sales that stay on the books, and I have a 94% persistency rate.
Wow.
So those sales that stay on the books, I'm still getting paid, Russell, back from 2009, 2010, 2011. So I'm still getting paid on those, okay? And so during this pandemic and with the coronavirus, I kind of had a chuckle. Because, I had been on the road some with B2B, and, I came home on March 11th was my last day that I traveled, and I just kind of chuckled. And first of all, I said, wow, I am so glad, okay, that this is, I'm not sitting here as a real estate broker with the stock market crashed, okay, wondering if I'm even going to be able to show a home because of this virus, okay, wondering where my next closing is going to be. So I'm so happy that I took that chance, okay, and even if this isn't a career path for someone, even to have a nest egg, to have cash flow coming in is absolutely amazing. So number one, I was very grateful for that. Number two, I chuckled because the stay-at-home thing, I did this for years. I self-quarantined myself for 2 full years, right? And so this isn't a problem. We know how to do this very successfully. I'm just excited because I do love to see other people succeed. And so I'm really excited to be able to share that system. And, you know, I want to be able to get those text messages and those phone calls, or see people in Charlotte at our next leadership conference. I want people to come up to me and say, hey, Jen, I saw your training on the Super Saturday, and you know what? I'm making those 10, 15, 20 sales a month now. And, you know, thank you so much for that. So I'm really excited to be able to share that.
Well, you know what, man, guys, I know your socks are blown off just like mine. This is what I heard a week ago on a conference call set up by Mr. Corey Muhammad, who invited Jen and I to hop on and just talk about why people should come out to see us on the 18th. And just as you heard what I heard, man, I mean, and she went into a little bit more detail today than she did then because she had a lot more time. But guys, anyway, I'm glad that you didn't share anything about your training today. I was afraid that you might even give a couple tidbits.
Not gonna give that away.
You got to get on the Super Saturday tomorrow, 11 to 3 Eastern time tomorrow. All the details are right there on the flyer. But Jenifer, thanks so much for sharing, and I can't wait. I said it last week on the call. I'm gonna say it again right now. I don't know who's going first tomorrow, but I'll be right there with my journal right here at my desk, taking notes, because as much as I'm a team builder and recruiter and believe in leverage, and you guys know that, I need to learn. You know, I don't need LegalShield to eat. You know, I got a team that supports this, but there's nothing wrong with learning how to market. You know, I need to get my PC points every month, and if I can learn a way to guarantee that I got my PC Pro right now. We all know that if you PC Pro and have at least 10 recruits a month in your team, you automatically go on the trip next year. Automatically.
That's right.
We know they're going to add some additional qualifiers in a few months, but right now, instant qualification for the next year's summer vacation, luxury vacation getaway is just PC Pro and at least 10 recruits a month on you and your team. And guys, for me, I want to learn this mainly because I want to be able to have a surefire way that I know I can PC Pro myself personally every month. And I mean, I do that through recruiting, which is also part of my plan. But this is a skill. What have I taught you guys before? The 3 things you need to learn how to do in LegalShield, and that's it. You'll have nothing to worry about. Learn how to market a membership. Learn how to recruit, and then learn how to build for events. And I've always taught you guys, if you get good at building for events, you don't have to worry about a lot of sell memberships, because you can just get your guests in front of somebody like Jenifer who knows how to sell memberships. And if you don't know how to recruit, but you're good at building for events, just get people out to the events, and someone like myself or other leaders will teach them how to recruit. So I do believe that, but I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with learning how to market this membership, because we get to make a difference in someone's lives, and most likely they'll keep the membership for years to come. I told you today, just like Jenifer, I'm being paid on memberships. I sold my very first month in the business 27 years ago. And had I sold 1,000 memberships in 5 years or in 3 years, or instead of 27 years, I would have an even larger, I have a pretty significant, Mrs. Peden, I have a pretty significant residual income. That's because we have a team that sold 500,000 memberships. But I mean, we have people on our team, as you guys know, Randy Wells and others, and people like Jenifer in this company who have significant 6-figure residual incomes. And they didn't do it. And it didn't take them 27 years. And they didn't have to have a team of tens of thousands of people who sold hundreds of thousands of memberships. They did it because the more money you make on the sale, the larger your residual. And if you can do it personally, you can build an amazing residual income just off your personal business. And you don't have to crush it. You don't have to do 50 or 100 sales a month. You can do 15 or 20, or like Jen, 30 sales a month, and build yourself an amazing walkaway income. So anyway, we'll talk about that a lot tomorrow, but get on the train tomorrow. But Jenifer, thanks so much for sharing. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to share with our folks your story, your background, your story, and how LegalShield literally saved your life. Because I've been through tragedy. I know that, and I love the fact that, I always say LegalShield saved my life because they gave me the time and the money to go out there and get my cancer cured. It gave me this, allowed me to go 7 weeks away from my family at the cost of about $150,000, which is fine. Some people have the $150,000, but not many people have the 7 weeks they can get away from their job or their family to give it up. So LegalShield saved my life. It saved yours too. I'm so excited to learn from you tomorrow. I know you guys are as well. So I'm going to wrap this Zoom up. It's way longer than I expected it to be because I wanted it to be a quick live, but now it's going to be a video that we're going to promote out to the team. So thanks again, Jenifer, for your time. I know you got much to do and work to do, so I'm going to let you get back to your husband and back to marketing those memberships. And I'll see you tomorrow on the Super Saturday, girl.
Sounds great. Thanks. Bye-bye.
See ya. Let me stop this recording and we can just chat.